All right, sports fans, how's everybody out there doing? William Martin coming at you one more time here on YouTube with another edition of the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast. Now, the news broke yesterday that Doc Rivers and the Los Angeles Clippers are parting ways. This comes on the heels of the Clippers being eliminated in the second round of the NBA playoffs by the Denver Nuggets. Now, in that series, the Clippers held a 3-1 series lead and failed to close out the Nuggets. As much as, people want to give Doc Rivers credit for being one of the best coaches in the NBA for the last 10 or 15 years, he does have a history of being unable to close out teams in the postseason. And overall, Doc Rivers is just 91 and 89 in the playoffs. Now, make no mistake about it, this was a flawed Clippers team, but Doc has to take the blame for their shortcomings. You look at this Clippers squad, they lacked a quality point guard all season long. This is a team that fell in love with the perimeter jump shot, even though they really don't have that many perimeter jump shooters on this team. And too often, we saw this Clippers squad throughout the regular season and in the playoffs play down to the level of their opponents. And in these playoffs, what happens if the Mavericks are healthy? Because that Dallas Mavericks team in the first round was giving the Clippers all that they could handle. And it wasn't until, the injuries got the best of the Mavericks that the Clippers were able to pull away and win that series. They started off strong versus the Nuggets. They had leads, double-digit leads in games 5, 6, and 7, and simply were unable to close the door. And I've said it before, and I'll say it again, and this just does not apply to the Clippers. When you fall in love with the three-point shot, when you are streaky three-point shooters, and in the case of the Clippers, you're inconsistent in regards to being a perimeter shooting team. You keep doing that, you can have a 15-point lead, but you have kept the door open for that other team to get back into the contest. You're up 15, they score a quick basket to make it 13, you take a quick, ill-advised three-point shot, they get the ball back, no contesting from your part on the down low for the rebounding. They get down there, they hit a three-point shot of themselves. Just like that, a 15-point lead is down to 10, and now that team is getting confidence. And we saw this, and it seemed like every single game for games 5, 6, and 7, from about the halfway point of the third quarter throughout the rest of the contest, that momentum shifted to the Nuggets, and it was the Nuggets who felt, you know what, we've got them right where we want them, and it was the Clippers who said, oh no, what do we do? That's where coaching comes into play. It seemed like, the players had tuned Doc out. Doc has been there for a while. Like I said, this is not the first time that we've seen him blow a 3-1 series lead. He did it several years ago with the Lob City Clippers when they were up 3-1 versus the Houston Rockets in the second round of the playoffs. And for their history, this is a Los Angeles Clippers team which dates back to their days as the Buffalo Braves, who have still been unable to get past the second round of the NBA playoffs. Bringing in a guy like Doc Rivers, he was supposed to remedy that, and obviously that didn't happen. The expectations for this team went through the roof after they signed Kawhi Leonard, after the acquisition of Paul George from the Oklahoma City Thunder, and when you get two big-name players like that, quote-unquote, it's a situation where the expectations level step up and everybody's got to be on board. That was not the case for the Clippers this year. I think too often rather than not, they believed their own press clippings. A guy like Paul George, he really got exposed in this postseason as he was unable to elevate his game in the fashion that the Clippers needed him to. And in a case for a guy like Kawhi Leonard, you got to sit back and ask yourself, well, was leaving Toronto really worth it? But going ahead for the Clippers, now that Doc Rivers is no longer in the picture, I wouldn't be surprised if they tried to bring Chris Paul back. Remember, he was once upon a time the starting point guard for these Clippers under Doc Rivers. He and Doc Rivers had a falling out, and this is what this Clippers team was missing this season. So you have to ask yourself, do they go back and try to right that wrong and bring Chris Paul back into the mix for this club, because they need a quality point guard. Head coaching-wise, you're going to hear the name of Tyronn Lue. Some people had put him with the Philadelphia 76ers. that is not a done deal as of yet, especially now since this Clipper gig is open up. You're also going to hear the name possibly of Nate McMillan and current Clippers assistant coach Sam Cassell. Bottom line is the Clippers need a new voice in this locker room, and they've got to go forward. And this is a fractured team right now. So it's up to Steve Ballmer, the team's owner, to kind of get everybody on the same page and see what they can do for the 2020-2021 NBA season. In regards to Doc Rivers, I think Doc is going to land on his feet. He does have that one NBA championship. It was 12 years ago, but it does still carry some weight behind it. And I think two teams that you're going to hear in regards to Doc Rivers, you're going to hear about the Philadelphia 76ers and the New Orleans Pelicans. The Pelicans are a young team. They're injury prone, but they're a young team and they can be exciting. And you look at the Philadelphia 76ers, they need somebody to come in there and help Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons take that next step in their respective games. So I don't see Doc Rivers being out of work for that long. It's a situation that, after a while, the voice has to change in the locker room. That was the case. We saw them clearly tune him out. And, this is going to hurt his legacy right now for what just happened here. It's going to hurt a guy like Kawhi for the short term. He's got to turn it around because he left a championship organization with the Toronto Raptors to come to the Clippers, and he fell short of that championship dream this year. So it's going to be an interesting offseason for both the Clippers and Doc Rivers, but this time they are doing it separately. But after this team, with the expectations that they had, blew that series lead, and they're home watching the NBA Finals right now. It's a situation, the writing was on the wall, and it was inevitable. It was the right decision to make for all parties involved, and it'll be interesting to see what the Clippers do going forward, and the same thing can be said about one Doc Rivers. So, folks, that is going to wrap it up, and as always, I want to take this time out to thank you for tuning into the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast. Now, you can please feel free to subscribe to this channel and also like this podcast. If you're on Twitter, please feel free to follow me at 300 Pounds of Sports. And like I always say, if you follow me, it will be my pleasure to follow you right back. There's also the sports discussion group on Facebook at the Sports Depot 365. You can check it out, drop a line, and be a part of one of the better sports debating sites going on social media. So once again, fine folks, my name is William Martin. Take care and have yourselves a wonderful day.